hydrogen wrapped up neat, nuclear's trick disguised as clean, painted bright for all to see, a scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds.
Hello everybody, welcome back.
Hydrogen wrapped up neat, nuclear's trick disguised as clean, painted bright for all to see, a scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds. Pink hydrogen wrapped up neat.
Such a great song, man. 709 is the number here in Canada or United States or New Mexico. 589-4406. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing better than I am. Whew, I got the flu. Not sure what kind of a show we'll get in. We'll get in something here tonight. It's going to be a little bit rough for me, but I almost bailed out about 5 minutes ago. I was like, holy crap. I was in the bathroom I'm very congested with the flu and everything. You can kind of see it last night, right? I had a lot of hacking going on last night. Not much I can do about it. That's 23 days of radioactive fallout. Hi, everybody. It's 23 days of radioactive fallout. So when I asked a poll tonight, did Japan cover the entire planet in 25 days with well over, multiple times over 10 million atoms of cesium-137 per cubic meter of air? I'm being generous. It was probably 20 to 30 million atoms of cesium, just not counting all the other isotopes in that same cubic meter. But that model up there is the French government's model study showing 1 million to 10 million atoms, or 10 million times background levels pre-nuclear meltdown at Japan, right? We got a bunch of fire reports to get to, hopefully. Former Fukushima worker. I believe the country will be evacuated if the number 4 fuel pool collapses. Should be hundreds or thousands of people working furiously every single day. So then, that was 2012. This was 2013. I'm going to play that clip for you. This is the media, because I haven't played it for a while. This is the media pretending they're on top of Fukushima Reactor 4 to your left. Let's just play that clip.
Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011.
Of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
At the end of our tour, we were checked for radiation exposure. In 4 hours, I received the equivalent of less than a chest x-ray.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor.
They should be dumped in the reactor, I think, shouldn't they? That's crazy, though, isn't it? The media pretending they're on top of a building that don't exist. Because, it's a nuclear meltdown. That's the building they refuse to, even today, acknowledge has any damage. Despite the fact you can go to TEPCO's website and download the picture to your left, and you can go to the media and download the videos to your right. That's only a fraction of the media. So, how are you going to combat something like that when it's that's firmly entrenched in the universities and the medias and the governments to lie to you? Thousands evacuated from the nuclear plant city. This was March the 11th. After the quake, as the reactors refuses to cool after shutdown. First off, it was really difficult to evacuate anybody in the first 4 or 5 days. It was 1,200 kilometers of the coastline was significantly destroyed from the tsunami and the earthquake. Leak. And see, the word leak there in day one, such a disgusting word. That word should be removed from all dictionaries because of the nuclear industry's abuse of it. And then not even the fortitude to use the word radiation. So the cover-up on day one was shocking. It was March the 11th. I'm going to put it on the big shot screen, the big screen. And if I gag out in a little while, that's life, because I've had the flu, brutal flu all day. I'm combating it with peroxide on both of my jugular veins, and then breathing in about 7, 8, 9 pumps. And that seems to calm down my throat for a while, right? I should be bathing in that stuff each day. That's what real doctors use on cancer patients. They give them big, huge jugs of peroxide, and they tell them to take a wash, like wash themselves in it twice a day, and let it just absorb in their skin. And that extra oxygen wrecks viruses and pathogens and cancer cells. Government ordered 2,000 residents near the Fukushima nuclear disease factory, Onahama City. Well, Okuma is right alongside of it and to the north, and Futabar to your south. They're literally joined onto the nuclear plant itself. Onahama, I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head where that's to, and I didn't look it up on the map. I apologize. I was too busy hacking up my guts, I think, because the plant system was unable to cool the reactor. Well, they lost all power. If you don't circulate the water in the fuel pools, they all melt down on you right away. Just imagine what the reactor is going to be like. Reports also indicated the plant was experiencing fire, and this was got a couple of headlines to get through. I'm going to jump on the Freedom of Information Act files. There's some nasty stuff in that. Holy smokes! There's over 4 million redacted, not all of it, but a lot of it was redacted emails, and they're linked all permanently underneath my videos to 2011, to the nuclear regulatory site now, mind you. These are PDF files, by the way, if you click on it. You won't actually go straight to a PDF. You'll go to a list. When you open up each list, well, the one I was doing today was 422 pages. I only got about 150 pages in. It's very time-consuming to try to go through that stuff. 100% worth it, though. The reactor, said officials, was not leaking radiation. Every time I heard the word leaking, I just want to strangle somebody in the nuclear industry. But its core remained hot even after the automatic shutdown. Of course it did, because it takes several days to cool down. You lost all power immediately. You're dependent on an external power on top of that. So the tsunami, when the tsunami showed up and took out the external power, that was the end of the game. Because everything, you can't even start up the generators without external power, right? We're doubting claims that no radiation leakage, and generally those big generators, it's hard to appreciate how big these generators are. They typically take 6, 7, 8, 9 hours to fire up under best of circumstances. These are huge generators we're talking about. And many experts were, because, you're trying to run a small city, right? And many experts were doubting claim that no radiation leakage. That word just infuriates me every time I hear it. Was taking place. No leakage. This is what they call a leak to your left, by the way. And this plume at 1 million to 10 million atoms per cubic meter of air of cesium-137, they call that a leak. Just for those two reasons alone, you should hate the nuclear industry with every fiber in your body. I know I do. And the reactor, said the officials, was not leaking radiation, but its core remained hot, even after the automatic shutdown. And many scumbags, experts were doubting claims that no radiation leakage was taking place. If there was just a usual malfunction, then they would never dare to evacuate. It's a good point, right? So there was something going on. Obviously something going very seriously wrong at Fukushima if an evacuation is taking place. Well, they didn't want a whole bunch of dead bodies in the houses and no way to explain it away outside of radioactive fallout. And that's exactly what was happening to the evacuees, by the way. There was over 3,000 of them in the first week showed up dead in the hospitals. And no, it was stress, Dana. And there's a lot of propaganda for the first couple of years about that story. Even today, you'll still see connotations of that showing up, where they try to blame it all on stress. Oh, stress. There wasn't very many people compared to what we see post-Fukushima with the supercell cyclones and supercell typhoons, supercell hurricanes. Literally every storm now is a supercell storm after Fukushima. Quite a coincidence, isn't it? Yeah, just a coincidence. I'm pretty sure it got nothing to do with 36 reactor cores melting down. There was a rising level of suspicion that the radiation leakage was man, it's so hard for me to get past that word. I've been at this long enough. I should be entitled to punch a nuclear scientist. There should be a nuclear scientist sitting here with long hair so I can grab him and punch him every time I hear the word leakage. Not that I would do that, but just so I had the option, right? I'm actually not that mean of a person, believe it or not. It's hard to believe it when you're watching these shows, probably, but just because they are exterminating every species on the planet, there's no reason to hate them, I suppose. Was a real possibility in that the remaining hours in the day in Japan would reveal if a leakage. I don't know if I can do this story. Every time I hear the word leakage, I want to kill something. Oh, crap. Leakage. Just a coincidence. They're not trying to brainwash you, nothing. Bologna nuclear physicist Nils said that the failure to cool the reactor would lead to a catastrophe. Yeah, clearly he's a genius. With massive releases of radioactive waste that results, massive release, you say? You know, like 10 million atoms per cubic meter of air covering the entire planet in just 25 days type releases. This is a French study. I gotta try not to get too excited because this is how I'd blow out my vocals, right? I got my chlorine dioxide water. Life is good. A fire also broke out at Tohoku Electric Power Company's Okinawa. And if you're not familiar with what I'm doing with the chlorine dioxide in my water, all my water, look up the documentary Universal Antidote. Watch that sometime. It's about chlorine dioxide. It was made by a nurse who was very skeptical originally, investigated it and said, holy crap, the world needs to know. The same thing could be said about quite a few stuff. A fire broke out at the Tohoku Electric Power Company's Okinawa nuclear plant in northeastern Japan. We covered a story about that yesterday, where the wonderful degenerates at the International Atomic Energy Agency said there was simply nothing happened. Why does anybody even give them 2 seconds? Japan is the third biggest donor to them monsters, I suppose is probably the only word appropriate for them. The 4 Japanese nuclear power plants closest to the quake have been safely shut down. The wonderful degenerate IAEA Incident and Emergency Degenerate Center degenerate said, without specifying the exact names or locations of said plants. But guess what? There was a leak, and then there was a possibility of a leak, and there was radioactivity leaks, and another possible leaks. Nothing to see here. Move along. Like the biggest leak is Medusa to your center there. That was a plutonium mixed oxide reactor. I know it's hard to appreciate it looking at it, but it actually blew up. You're like, nah, that never blew up, Data. It looks normal. I know, scumbag. Pro-nuclear. It actually blew up, and it blew up and caught fire and blew up. Not necessarily in that order, I don't think, but there's some fancy stuff going on there. Second nuclear meltdown likely underway in Japan. We don't hear the word officials. You just want to stuff his mouth with rocks or something, make him chew them all. Yeah, maybe that's what we can do with the nuclear experts, is we file their teeth into points so that they can't talk or anything like that. They can't swallow because they can't move their tongue, right? And then every time it gets blunt and sharpen it up again. Forever. And keep them alive as long as we can so that they suffer very long time. I was going to say you should hang them upside down at night, but that's what they do anyway, right? So he said, speak into the Geiger counter. Louder. Speak into the Geiger counter. So the minute, this is the strangest thing I ever saw with a Geiger counter. I got that Geiger counter. That's my Geiger counter right here. It's up to my mouth. See, it's registering 255 counts per minute. Clearly, he's a nuclear scientist. By the way, using a Geiger counter in a nuclear wasteland will disable the Geiger counter right away. You have to send it back to manufacturer to see if it can be salvaged and recalibrated. They're very finicky things, right? And the more money you spend on them, the more finickier they are. That doozy up there was $1,500. The inspector, that's the minimum you want to have by rights, but they come a long way, I guess, in the last number of years. So, March 12, 2011. Pink hydrogen. Mouse. Fuel rods were briefly exposed. Fuel rods. If a fuel rod is briefly exposed, it goes kapooey. It melts down and that lights up everything else. In the fuel rods, by the way, is the plutonium and uranium pellets. So they're going to catch fire. Ain't nobody going near that. They were briefly exposed, Dana. Radiation levels briefly rose. Yeah, you know it. It's a Dano. The monster of the monsters. Fuel rods were briefly exposed and radiation levels briefly rose and above the legal limits, Dana. Yeah, the legal limits. A partial meltdown in the unit is highly possible. This is the day 2, right? You told the reporters, the wonderful degenerate did. Because it's inside the reactor, we cannot directly check it. So how do you know it briefly was exposed? How do you know it partial meltdown? But we are taking measures on the assumption of the possible partial meltdown. How does that work, though? Because it burns at 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. It's in a bundle with 100 other fuel rods. Like, they're literally just millimeters apart. And when you get sort of 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures, what's the odds that something millimeters alongside of it will catch fire too? I wonder. 1 in 10? I don't know. 10 in 10? Everything, once you start to chain, you call it a chain reaction, because once one goes, the rest of them goes too, right? He also said a hydrogen explosion could occur at the reactor unit 3. We finally recognize it as the Medusa. If you stare at Unit 3 for a few seconds, in this instance, you die right away. Your organs melt. That would follow a Saturday blast at Unit 1. A blast. Yeah, we had a blast at the nuclear reactor. It's okay, though. Scientists are checking it out with their scopes and plastic paper cups and paper suits and stuff. Well, I got a picture for you. Unit 1 is to your left. This reactor, Medusa, is the next one. It blew up. So, reactor 1 to your left, the whole site was covered in fuel rods and pellets and everything else because that was the fuel pool. So, if you blow the top off a building, do you produce enough, so let's call it dust, or radioactive debris, that looks like dust? So how can you blow a roof off a steel building and produce all that debris you see over there, or all this debris here, for instance? Well, that's the fuel rods exploding. Because they catch fire immediately, right? The claddings, the fuel pellets themselves are cladded in zirconium, and the rods are cladded in zirconium. Japan's largest electric utility Sunday released what it said was slightly radioactive air at reactor 3. That's what it looked like here. But you see the big chunks up there falling down right away? That's the fuel pools with the 4 decades of reactor cores falling back down, and the reactor core itself, which was ejected right out of the buildings. La 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 da da da. I got some videos there of that. Let me bring up a video that we've been missing for quite a while. Now I finally got it and import it. Darn it. What's going on here? I smurfed that up, did I? That's okay. That's my job. My job is to smurf this up. Okay, but we'll go this way. Here's reactor 3. So clearly that's a 19-story, 65-meter, 190-foot building, so nothing happened to that. Japan's largest electric utility said Sunday's released what it said was slightly radioactive air. That was before the kapui behind me, right? First off, when reactor 1 blew up, you were not going in, and it's right alongside of reactor 2, which is right alongside of reactor 3, which is right alongside of reactor 4. So all of that was covered in heavy radioactive fallout immediately. There is no experts, there is no scientists, there is no engineers, there is no technicians. There is nothing on the planet with an autoimmune trigger to defend against that kind of radioactive debris, right? The wonderfully degenerate Tokyo Electric Company, or scumbag, Saturday began pouring seawater and boric acid into the Fukushima power plant's Unit 1 reactor. How does that work, I wonder? How do you pour water? This is the next... This, like, it's blown up. How do you pour water in the reactor? Because their version is the reactor is pressurized. You're talking about 1,000 pounds per square inch minimum. But because you got no water, the pressure is building immediately because it couldn't cool down. So let's say it's 2,700 degrees or something. And you got 2,000 pounds per square inch. So unless you got a water hose that's at 3,000 pounds per square inch, like, try putting your finger on a hole where there's 2,000 pounds per square inch and see what happens to your finger. It's just interesting how many lies they told now that we look back in hindsight. Water at the Unit 3 nuclear reactor. Critical core cooling systems failed at both reactors. Unit 2 reactor, though shut down by the quake, was not in the same trouble. Well, that's true on that day, but they knew it was melting down. They had no, so reactor 1, 2, and 3 were running. So that was guaranteed to melt down. There's no ifs, no maybes, no perhaps, no let's wait and see routine. The actual community knew they were going to melt down. Right? And the fuel pools were going to melt down because you couldn't circulate water. Here we go. Keep going here. A little rough though. Released steam raised radiation levels above safety limits outside the Unit 3 reactor. This was a Medusa reactor on Sunday. The government of an emergency situation said, they said there was no immediate threat to the human health. Like once reactor 1 blew up, there's immediate threat to human health. Nobody can go near it. You'll drop dead. It's like a sniper round, see? Idano, the craziest creature in human history, said the radiation later fell. How can the radiation fall after it detonates. And they're showing you that picture, right? The damaged roof, this was the fuel pool. This wasn't a roof. Have you ever seen the roof of these buildings? Let me show you. Because it's always entertaining. Hang on here. I got an idea. What do we got done now? Okay, there we go. Sometimes it's still, not sometimes, but it always shocks me how much documentation I got. I go looking for the simplest friggin' thing, and it becomes overwhelming. La 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 la. But I think I should show a picture of what the roof would look like. Which is not a simple task when you consider how much material I actually got. Don't give up on me yet. Give me a second. I can do this. I know I could do it. I gotta try one more try. I got every picture but... well, not every picture, but I know I got the picture there, but... Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Ha Woohoo! So look at that roof up there. All right. Now we're talking. So how does that roof, a steel roof, and you see the big ductwork system. What you're looking at there is a ductwork system for evaporating, not evaporating, but drawing the air out of the building that goes up to tall, skinny stacks. The air there is completely contaminated from the fuel pools. So how does that building create a plume like that and a plume like that? How does, not the building, but the roof? Because you said it blew the roof off. So look at the roof. By the way, that's the official picture of Reactor 4. You like this one? Like, that's the official picture. The International Atomic Energy Agency, TEPCO, and the rest, all the media says that's the top of Reactor 4. Here's the bottom of it. And that's the top of it right there. So clearly, if you were inside that building and you're looking up at the ceiling, this is what it looks like. I know what you're saying, Data, you're full of shit. Oh, well, come on now. That's what the nuclear industry wouldn't lie to you. Look at it. Clearly, that's what it looks like inside at the top of that stump there. A similar radiation increase was seen Saturday during venting at the number 1 reactor before it exploded. So, like venting at that building, once that exploded, there's no venting going on anywhere on that site. Everybody runs away because that's all you can do. It's a nuclear meltdown. Just toolbox is not gonna. All it's gonna do is get you killed. A similar radiation increase was seen Saturday during venting number 1. The blast destroyed the exterior walls of the building, but did not breach the steel housing enveloping the reactor. The officials, scumbags, had said. Let's have a look at that again. So the top of that building is what they said blew off. Oh, well, that's a relief, because when I looked at that over there, Reactor 1, it looked pretty rough to me, so... Yeah, totally. I can totally see it now. That roof is gone. Now, that roof, of course, is 150 feet above the stump. So clearly, Japan has mastered invisible buildings. A similar radiation increase was seen Saturday during venting at the number 1 reactor before it exploded. There's that word again. Exploded. The blast destroyed the exterior. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not a monster, said the pro-nuclear. I'm just misunderstood. Clearly, the pro-nuclear community is misunderstood. That makes perfect sense. Where was I? I was there somewhere. Okay, I'm pretty close to there. Alright, here we go. Monday, March the 14th. This is the Freedom of Information Act release files. La 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 da 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 da. Hi everybody. There we go. Let's get going. All right. So just to clarify, just the top of the building blew up, right? The steel up there, and that caused all that massive plume. Because you realize those little buildings you see over there are 190 feet tall, 19-story buildings. I can totally see it. Look at it. So the steel turned to dust, just like on 911, right? There was enough steel on 911 to turn to dust in 11 seconds to build 11 container ships. That sounds normal. A similar radiation increase was seen Saturday during venting at the number 1 reactor before it exploded. We already covered that, Danny. Get back on track, dummy. I'm sorry. Mary Wegener, Monday, March the 14th. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. The operator of the blah, 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 the cooling system at Unit 2 was fully down on the 14th, which could lead to overheating of the unit and an explosion similar to those that occurred on Friday and Monday. Friday was Unit 1, and Monday was Reactor 3. That one. Da 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 da. As the levels of cooling liquid continued to lower at Unit 2 of the Fukushima nuclear power plant, the reactor's fuel rods have become partially exposed and therefore even less cooled. Now, when the rods are partially exposed, they catch fire. They burn at 1800 degrees immediately. Who cares? It's just a nuclear meltdown. It's like a banana, right? The spokesman, that's sarcasm in case you're new here. I'm just being an a-hole here tonight, I think. The spokesperson for the Fukushima government has stated that the Unit 2 fuel rods were briefly exposed. The plant's technician are pumping seawater in the reactor to cover the fuel rods again, Dana. Really? Right alongside of all the melted reactors and the detonated reactors. They're heroes, Dana. Yeah. You said zeros? Oh, heroes. No, what, are you crazy or what? I thought you said zeros. The same was done to the other 2 units, but it did not prevent the explosions. Now, once Reactor 1 on Friday detonated, you are not going near the other reactors. They're right alongside of it. You got fuel rods, reactor cores for the fuel pools spread all over that site. How are you going to go there? How's that work? Put on your paper suit, folks. Paper suits, check. Let's go. Anybody says to me they're going to get slapped, they're going to slap you. First my left hand, then with my right hand, and then with my big boots. I'll kick you right in the butt. You're going to like, oh, that hurt. Good. And say it again, I'm going to kick you again. And if a nuclear scientist got kicked every time they told a lie, they would look like this big blob of jelly on the floor. There'd be no bones left in them whatsoever. Earlier, reports described a massive column of smoke being seen coming from the plant's Unit 3. 11 people were injured. Massive column of smoke, they say. I think it was an explosion personally, but hey. Potatoes. La, 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 la. 11 people were injured. I got another picture of Reactor 3. Hang on here. I think it's important. You see another angle of the reactor. Now, the fuel pool and the reactor core is at the very top of the building. When you look at the building over there, that part is missing. Or, like the nuclear industry says, it's invisible, so terrorists don't get it. Right? And they got a magic paint. Right? And they bring in a couple of witch doctors, and they get some chicken bones out, and then freaking disappears. Or, it blew up. I don't know. It's hard to say. Don't want to call anybody a lawyer, particularly on a Tuesday. That's a terrible day to call somebody a lawyer. So, like when I'm looking at Reactor 3, I'm not seeing anybody going in there and putting water in the reactor core. First off, because it ejected the reactor core right at the friggin' building with the fuel pools. Like you have zero possibility of surviving 3 seconds there. Because of the gamma shines, the X-rays, the neutron bombardments, the beta rays, the alpha shines, the X-rays. There's nobody on the planet. Even Superman couldn't survive there. Not even the Hulk could survive there. Not even Bugs Bunny could survive there. Maybe Bugs Bunny. The radiation levels is within the security margin, because he's real, unlike Superman and the Hulk, right? The radiation levels within the security margin, insists the plant's owner. TEPCO doesn't own the plant, the shareholders own it. Said on Monday, the radiation level. They want you to blame TEPCO instead of the nuclear industry, which is where the blame should go. Particularly the International Atomic Energy Agency. Off with their heads. 10.65 microsieverts. What was the date on this? But it's hard to find. It's impossible to find a good person in the nuclear industry, isn't it? Okay, March the 14th. I gotta come back and read that one more time. Maybe I might have something in my eye. I'm not sure. The company said on Monday the radiation levels within 10.6 microsieverts. Not even a millisievert. I had to read that again. On Monday, that was the day Reactor 3 detonated. So that was less than 10.6 microsieverts. Still better what the South Korean professor of nuclear and quantum engineering had said. It was equal to 3 grams of sugar going into the ocean. It's going to be hard to top that one. I never heard that one before. Have you? Yeah, the flu kind of seduces you, right? That you can't get too rowdy or my voice will blow out. How am I doing so far? Made it into 38 minutes. That's basically a show right there. Radiation levels within 10.65 microsieverts. So for every microsievert they're wrong, we should skin a nuclear scientist. I'm just hypothetically speaking here now. I'm not saying go skin them. Okay? I never said that. Not very good at winking, apparently. So let me see. 10.65 microsieverts, not even a millisievert. There's 1,000 millisieverts in a sievert. And 3 sieverts is a lethal dose just from the shine, the neutron bombardment, the beta rays, the alpha rays, the X-rays. It melts your organs, right? Your organs literally liquefy at 3 sieverts. Actually, this is the plutonium mixed oxide reactor on top of that. I mean, the radioactive fallout 5,500 miles away is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison, but it's only 10.65 microsieverts? Should we castrate whenever a nuclear scientist get their degree? Should they be castrated right away so they can't have children? That's a pretty good trade-off, if you ask me. Still, 160 people have already been exposed to radiation in the vicinity of the nuclear meltdown. I'm sorry, the plant. Technically, it's a plant, Dana. The radiation has reached the U.S. aircraft carrier. I love this one. Anchored 160 kilometers away. That's the craziest statement I've ever heard. I never heard that one before. That's a new one on me. They were actually within a kilometer, 3/4 of a mile of the reactors. All their digital watches stopped working at the same time on that ship. Because clearly it's like a banana, right? I know whenever it goes near a banana, whenever I'm near a banana in the supermarket, my digital watch always stops. It's the strangest thing, right? After the first blast, over 200,000 people were evacuated. 600 remaining, up to 160,000 may have been exposed to radiation. 160,000. Were exposed to radiation. And 160 million, you meant, not 160,000. There has never been a case where information about a nuclear plant breakdown, I've never heard that before, has been accurate, believes Dr. Robert Jacobs from the Hiroshima Peace Institute. They give that guy a Nobel Peace Prize. Time. I gotta squint my eyes when I'm reading it. I'm not trying to make fun of the Japanese. I gotta squint my eyes to read it, right? It's legit. Friday, March 25th. I passed along the comment to the RST concerning hydrogen control for containment. This was March the 25th, 2 weeks after all the reactors blew up. If you think you have an explosive mixture in the containment and don't know, then the preferred option would be nitrogen purge and vent. Oh. Clearly, that's what they should have done. Just get a bunch of those people that brings the oxygen tanks up on the Mount Everest for the climbers and get them to lug the nitrogen over all the wreckage and carnage. Right? Does that make sense? I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm trying to be reasonable, trying to be rational. I'm definitely as rational as these guys are. The recombiners can be a source of ignition if a flammable explosive mixture exists and should therefore be avoided. Well, actually, just oxygen will cause it to detonate, right? If you displace the oxygen with hydrogen, once you reintroduce oxygen, then it'll detonate. That's the problem with zirconium and hydrogen. March 14th, 2011, 9:26 a.m. It was sent out to Hogan and Rosemary and Timbuktu and Yabba Dabba Doo. In France, for instance, nuclear plants are designed to withstand an earthquake twice as strong as the 1,000-year event calculated for each site. The Noto Peninsula in 2024, January 1st, was a 3,500-year-old fault line that ruptured for 150 miles. It caused 1,500 landslides. It isolated the Noto Peninsula, where the Shika nuclear power plant. We still haven't got any pictures of Shika, let alone the nuclear power plant, over a year later. So, to withstand an earthquake twice as strong as a 1,000-year event calculated for each site. These big, like Japan is on tectonic plates. Fukushima reactors and the Daini reactors and the other reactors along that coastline are 40 to 50 miles away from the tectonic plates. You know tectonic plates? It doesn't matter. And I mean, he shifted that whole coast 6 feet. It wasn't designed for anything like that. It's just another lie, like every other paragraph. It is estimated that worldwide 20% of the nuclear disease factories / reactors are operating in areas of significant seismic activity. Significant. Well, Japan's reactors get around 1,000 earthquakes a year. They're right on, like in the scope of tectonic plates, they're right on the tectonic plates. 40 miles away from tectonic plate is the equivalent of being on the tectonic plates, right? La 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 la. The seismic design of the plants is based on criteria far more stringent than those applying to non-nuclear disease factories. Power reactors are also built on hard rock foundations, not sediment, to minimize seismic shaking. They usually spend $500 million just on the construction of the site. Like, because they want massive amount of shale on that site. So if they have a nuclear meltdown, they can hit it with massive water forever, and that'll go down through the shale. And at the bottom of it, preferably, they want a riverbed, an ancient riverbed with a long history, and a mountain on the back of it to flood the riverbed and wash it out into the ocean or your lakes and rivers. They love poisoning your water. There seems to be an agenda of the nuclear industry worldwide to poison your water and your food, but particularly your water. And all 8 million species are dependent upon water. So by proxy, they get everything on the planet with the one go, right? They're attacking water. And without water, there is no life. And water is your best friend. Water is somebody you should admire. Water should be treated with absolute dignity and integrity, because it is it is your hero. So imagine if all of us move up to the moon where there's no water and we don't take any water with us. What's going to happen, I wonder? Can you grow food with no water? Can your puppies and your friends and loved ones survive very long? A nuclear power plant based on a known seismicity of the area and local active faults. After the Kobe earthquake in 1995, man, if they had had a reactor right there, that would have been the end of that. Followed a magnitude 7.3 earthquake in 2000 in an area where no geological faults were known, same as 2024, the Noto Peninsula, Ishikawa Prefecture. Japan's Nuclear Safety Commission ordered a full review of the country's, which was pointless, the full review of the country. Right, because you're talking about an enormous amount of monies to bring them up to a new benchmark, right? Newspaper coverage of the magnitude 7.2 Kobe earthquake, which devastated Kobe and the surrounding areas, raised concerns with the safety of nuclear power plants in the affected area. But just imagine if that happens where you got nuclear power plants to. And it's guaranteed to happen at some point. And that's why they built the reactors right on the tectonic plates, right? Because they know they're going to do that. Monday, March the 14th. Freedom of Information. They are working on what-if scenarios in the Op Center. The what-if. On the 14th, after Reactor 1 blew up on Friday, Reactor 3 blew up on Monday. They are tasked to compare some of the dose assessment results of the Japanese plant to Chernobyl. And they need, you can't, Chernobyl was a brand new reactor. It was a graphite reactor. It didn't have any fuel pools at the top of the buildings. Japan reactors were massive plutonium uranium reactors. They were massive compared to Chernobyl. They were pure uranium and plutonium. And they had 4 decades of reactor cores at the strangest place you would ever consider putting it, at the top of the buildings. To leave the fuel at the top of the buildings is absurd. The reason is you can't move it, see? It's still splitting atoms for millions of years. And so once you take it out of the reactor core, now the atoms are released all day long. They actually link to Beyond Nuclear. Of course, I go over to the disgusting Beyond Nuclear. Sorry, that page doesn't seem to exist. Why would you take that page down, though? What would be the motivation to take the page down? Is it expensive to keep a page up or something? No. The Humboldt faculty, ASU education. You guessed it, that page doesn't exist. How about the International Atomic Energy Agency? You can count on them, right? Page not found. So the 12th, this is day 2. To begin, a sense of perspective is needed. Right now, the Japs earthquake tsunami is clearly a catastrophe. The situation at the impact of nuclear reactors is, in the words of the International Degenerate Agency, an accident with local consequences. Well, when reactor 1 detonated, that's no longer local consequences. You eject it, you detonate the fuel pools, not the top of the buildings. Right? I mean, 2 years later, they didn't have all the media pretending they were on top of the building because it was okay. They done that because they didn't want you to realize that this was an extinction event. They didn't want to get blamed for the extinction event. The mass extinction event of whales and birds and seals and sea lions and starfish and humans and insects and birds, mammals and animals worldwide post-Fukushima. All the supercell cyclones and supercell typhoons, supercell hurricanes. If you look at the ratio pre-Fukushima, post-Fukushima for any of this, everything goes to Fukushima. If you look at the massive spike in Alzheimer's and dementia and autism and diabetes and Down syndrome and schizophrenia and heart problems and liver problems and lung problems and respiratory and pituitary and thyroid and adrenaline, these massive, each year there's a bigger spike. It never like plateaus, it never levels off. It's an extinction event, right? All external power to the station was lost when the seawater swept away the power lines for 1,200 kilometers. Like 1,200 miles of damage, but 1,200 kilometers of the coastline looked like a wood chipper. The only problem with it was it didn't kill enough nuclear scientists. If it had to kill all the nuclear scientists, I wouldn't feel bad. I wouldn't lose any sleep. Apparently, the plant then experienced a small loss of coolant from the reactor, Dana. Like when you read stuff like that, the proper response is to bang your head into a wall at 100 miles per hour. Because if you say what you feel like you should say, you might get arrested. The battery supplied control valves lost DC power after the prolonged use. Like how are you going to pump water into a reactor with batteries? Each reactor needs 4,500 tons a minute. That's 4,500 one-ton pickup trucks driving past your front door every minute. So if you were stood in front of your door and 4,500 one-ton pickup trucks each minute went past your house, could you count that? Now remember, they got to dump that water, 1 ton of water in the back of each one of those one-ton pickup trucks, that 1 million gallons each minute, 1,440 minutes a day. How many batteries do you need to power that, I wonder? DC power from batteries was consumed after approximately 8 hours. When the tsunami ran through the site, Let's just explore that for 1 second. I think I could help us out here. Oh, here we go. Okay. This will help you appreciate my issue with this statement. So when that tsunami, that's the tsunami running through Fukushima. So how much do you think when that tsunami finally drains back into the Pacific Ocean? Because remember, it came in at 400 miles per hour. That probably did no damage, I'm sure. Because reactors are like Superman, right? And the Hulk. So how much do you think was functional when the tsunami withdrew, drained back into the Pacific Ocean? Like if that was your property, what would you expect to see reworking? Do you think that would ingress into every single building? Remember, the common span fuel pool is right behind Reactor 4 on the same street, which is a much smaller building compared to the reactor buildings. At sea level was the cast. The majority of them got swept out. There was some left in the buildings. We got the footage of it, the pictures of it that was released. I done like 6 video presentation on the 1900 pictures that they had released, and we had done multiple videos explaining that on the 10th anniversary, the 736 pictures that were released from a drone. And I was like, I downloaded them all. I found them on a Chinese website, a news story. I was trying to translate it. They didn't really talk about it, but at the bottom of the story were these links to TEPCO's website, and you know how crazy I am. And one of the bad habits I had for years was, if I had a link to pictures at TEPCO's website, I would add extra letters and numbers to the URL, and then enter that and see if I get more pictures. And sure enough, you got more pictures a lot of the times. A lot of times you didn't, right? A lot of times you got another page. And I used to have a lot of fun with that. I guess you can call it fun. That's the sad thing about what I do. I actually have fun doing what I'm doing. I actually like doing what I'm doing. Yeah, I whine and snivel and cry and bitch about it all the time. But damn it, I like doing what I do. I like shitting on nuclear. Makes me feel better. So that water, when it finally drained back into the Pacific Ocean, how many switches and outlets were working? How many valves were still connected? Any? Was there a single one working? Because that's what they're saying, right? The batteries were consumed after approximately 8 hours. But what were the batteries going to run after that ran through the site and through the reactors? Anybody? I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm not trying to be rude. I think we're overdue to do those 1900 pictures again, aren't we? At that point, the plant experienced a complete blackout. No electric power at all. Hours passed as the primary water inventory was lost and core degradation occurred. Like you do realize that the tsunami had ran through that site. There's nothing functional. Even if you didn't lose power, there's not going to be nothing functional. But this was 1,200 kilometers of the coastline. It looked like that. And it wasn't just one tsunami. There was multiple tsunamis. One came in, it ingressed, kilometer inland, and the next one came in on top of that at 400 or 500 miles per hour. And there's multiple tsunamis, right? If you go look at the footage, you'll see it. Portable diesel generators were delivered to the plant site. First off, these are absurd size to these buildings. And if you can bring a generator in there per se, but what are you going to plug it into? After this nightmare ran through the site at 400 miles per hour. My computer just went bonkers on me. What have I got done to myself now? Just give me a minute here. You gotta make my life hard. You hack me or what? I know they hate me, but did they hack me? Let's see what happens here. Oh god, I got the blue screen of death. Oh shit. That's okay. Let's fire it up again. Let's let it fire up again. It doesn't happen too often. Portable diesel generators were delivered to the plant. So what was the date on this story? Let me go backwards for a second. Da, 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 da. So this is day 2. They delivered portable diesel generators on day 2, did you? How does that work? Hang on one second. I gotta sign in, I guess. Yep. It'll only take me a second. My apologies if you're getting any background noise. It probably hacked me, I guess. Is nuclear reactor meltdown a catastrophic event? Somebody says, not necessarily. It's not? Well, that's wonderful. If we exterminated all the nuclear scientists on the planet, is that a catastrophic event? Oh, not necessarily, because that's what they meant to write there. So they accidentally wrote down, is a nuclear meltdown a catastrophic event? What they meant to write down was, if all the nuclear scientists were put into a wood chipper, would that be a catastrophic event? And then the right answer is not necessarily. I'm not trying to be mean to nuclear scientists or anything. Maybe a little bit, yeah, but hang on, I got to sign in here. I'm back, baby. Uh-oh. Warning, stream current bit rate is not the greatest. Am I still here? I can't see you. Am I here? Is my stream okay, folks? Yeah, if they had been honest, the world might have figured out how to fix this horror by right away, right? No, they took the coward route. That's the typical nuclear route on top of that. I'm just going to hang on for a second to make sure I'm streaming okay. Kevin Blanch is the only opposition at the Utah State Capitol all day fighting the nuclear energy hub bill. The only person there fighting the nuclear energy death cult. That's terrifying, eh? Yeah, there is no... Yeah, okay, thanks, call it. Now it says I got a good connection. Here we go again. Man, my throat is shot. Hang on. All right. Let's keep trying. I think we're going to get a show in, by the looks of it. How can is a nuclear reactor meltdown a catastrophic event? How can it not be a catastrophic event? How does that work? Since September 11, 2001, additional safeguards and training have been put in place at the United States nuclear reactors, which allow plant operators to cool the reactor core during extended power outage or failure of backup generators, blackout conditions. How are you going to substitute a million gallons a minute, 4,500 one-ton pickup trucks of water a minute? Per reactor, by the way. For each reactor. How are you going to do it if you got a tsunami ran through the site? How are you going to do it with no electricity? Don't believe anything this industry tells you. That's the first rule of nuclear. Don't believe anything a pro-nuclear mongrel tells you. Even if the fuel in the reactor melts, the reactor containment system are designed to prevent the spread of radioactivity into the environment. That's not true. If it melts, it's at 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. It'll burn through the containment and anything else that's in the way immediately. Not only that, the pressure is so intense already at 1,000 to 2,000 pounds per square inch. Once that heats up, you're talking about 2,000 to 3,000 pounds per square inch. Then it'll just the containments. The minute that you run a fuel cycle, so 14 months or something, then the integrity of the containment is compromised because of what's known as a Wigner effect. It's about the neutron bombardments, the X-rays, the beta rays, the gamma shines, everything else, breaks down the integrity of the metal and the cement and everything else. It no longer has that integrity. The nuclear power industry will learn from this event and redesign our facilities as needed to make them safer in the future, says the monsters. How can you not just hate these people for saying something like that? They'll learn from the event. They'll learn to tell you nothing. I think it's stunning, right? Let me reinforce one of the things they learned from this event. Let me play this video again. This is just a fraction of the media. This is big medias. Like ABC behind me, Australia. That's the biggest media in Australia. The biggest media in the United Kingdom, BBC. And the biggest media in the United States, CBS. And CNN, which is a parasite that's worldwide, right?
What I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4.
So they're claiming that they're 150 feet above the stump to your left. I'll get out of the way.
The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011.
Of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
At the end of our tour, we were checked for radiation exposure. In 4 hours, I received the equivalent of less than a chest x-ray.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor.
So just for curiosity, what do you think should happen to those people that are pretending they're on top of Reactor 4? What should happen to them? Besides castrate it for the men. Sterilize for the creature that looks like a female, but probably not. Should they get a Nobel Peace Prize for being on top of a nuclear meltdown? Or should they go to jail for pretending they're on top of a nuclear meltdown? Should they lose their degree for falsely claiming they're at a nuclear meltdown, or even in Japan? They have 70 identical reactors in the United States. That's where they shot that video. Should they be promoted for hoodwinking and destroying the future of all species? Gitmo. Waterboard them. Waterboard them until they tells the truth. Which with them, it'll be, once you see the waterboard starting, they'll spill the beans, right? Monday, March the 14th. Do you know who the 6 Nuclear Regulatory Commission staff are going to Japan? Why send anybody to Japan? The reactors are detonating. There's already 2 nuclear meltdowns confirmed. That they covered up, of course, but there's 2 reactors that have already, in the eyes of anybody who knows the difference, knows they're gone. They're completely gone. As I understand it, Tony, Jim have gone to Japan. Chuck and John and Tony and Tim and Jack and Richard are going. And Hussein and Mike and Tony and Casper and Jason are in the ops center. Anybody else? So there's this coordinated effort. So they put it this was a model of Fukushima reactors, which looks identical to this one. And so the fuel pools are at the top of the buildings, the reactors at the very top of the buildings. Where's the top of the building? At reactor 4 to your left. March the 13th, Fukushima Daiichi. The hydrogen explosion, which is caused by the meltdown, between the primary containment vessel and the secondary containment building of the reactor did not damage the primary containment vessel or the reactor core. And they're talking about reactor 1. Japan's worst case scenario assumes significant public exposure to occur by the end of March the 12th because of pressure buildup that would damage the number 1 containment, reactor containment. Well, that's quite an interesting story, isn't it? Let me get a picture. Nothing says like lawyer quite like a picture. To your left is reactor 1. So when that blew up, it's so hard to tell the story when they tell so many lies. So that's what the top of the buildings looked like. So when that top of the building blew up, because that's what they said blew up, then it created a plume that covered the whole site. How does a little bit of steel create a plume that covers the whole site? Wait, I got another picture there, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to lose my voice pretty soon here. Oh. I like this one. So look at the top of the building. So this is what they said got blew up, was the very top of that building up there. And that's what happened. So like underneath the top of the building, just under the top of the building is the fuel pool right here. So that's the water from the fuel pool, and that's the fuel rods that have detonated from the superheated, right? A study, Fukushima is the most serious man-made disaster in human history. Obesity rates now nearly double Japan's average. That was actually 2012. It was based upon, but this story was republished in 2015. Obesity rates now nearly double Japan's average. Excessive weight gain after a nuclear crisis is a marker of radiation brain damage. Currently, in the United States, there's 2 million excess cancers last year in the United States. And 74% of Americans are considered obese. Now, the radioactive fallout made its way to America within 6 days. Heavy, sustained. And in Canada, it's 90% of the Canadians now are obese. And that another interesting fact was that Canada, unlike 55 countries to ban the food from 14 prefectures in Japan for a decade, removed all restrictions after 93 days. And so poor Japan, which grew 1 million pounds of rice in each of the 14 prefectures, couldn't ship their food anywhere, only to Canada. Canada was relabeling it and shipping it to the United States as produced in Canada. Canada's not really, I don't know if we produce rice anywhere in Canada. Obesity rates doubled in the first year. Almost double, right? Now nearly double. Give them another month and it's over double. All external power to the station was lost when the seawater swept away the power lines for 1,200 kilometers. The diesel generators started. Now, how can you... The diesel generators are dependent on the external power to start. Now, they started for the first hour, I'm pretty sure. But once the tsunami rolled through, there was no power, right? The likelihood there will be a huge fire like at Chernobyl, this is Monday, March the 14th, rather. The likelihood that there will be a huge fire like at Chernobyl, or a major environmental release like at Chernobyl, this is on the 14th. Friday's the 11th. Saturday's the 12th. Sunday's the 13th. Monday, reactor 3 detonated. Friday, reactor 1 detonated. And the 14th, reactor 2 detonated. A nuclear energy professor at the University of Illinois, James F. Stubbins. Now, he would have known reactor 3 was gone. Try to squeak out another few pages here. I shouldn't push my voice too hard because I won't be able to go tomorrow night if it does that, right? Hour 60 minutes is respectable. We got in a decent little show tonight. I wasn't even going to do a show 5 minutes before the show. I couldn't stop coughing, right? The whole day has been brutal on my throat. Explosion rocks Japan nuclear power plant rods at another reactor fully exposed. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Washington Post. Sorry, that page can't be found. It's kind of a trend for the nuclear industry, isn't it? You can't find the pages, the original stories. Thank goodness for the redacted emails, I suppose. Well, this was by the 15th. There's 4 reactors that are completely gone, but clearly reactor 3 and 4, for any academic in the nuclear industry, once they set their eyes on that, they're like, well, that's the end of that. And on Monday, this is what reactor 3 looked like. You know, the plutonium mixed oxide reactor. My goodness, man, that's an explosion caused by hydrogen. No, the hydrogen is caused by the nuclear meltdown. At Unit 3 at the Fukushima Daiichi, the second release, there was an explosion. NISA, I'm not going to get into too much name calling. That there was an explosion. If I get too excited, I'm going to blow my ability to talk, unfortunately. At the Unit 3 of Fukushima Daiichi Nuclear Disease Factory, according to Idiot Machine, TEPCO, the containment vessel of the unit was not broken. All right. The reactor was at the top of the building and the fuel pools. Like lying to you if it was a crime. These people would never get out of jail. I don't know why they're not in jail. According to TEPCO, the containment vessel of the unit wasn't broken. According to TEPCO, what about experts? Why are you asking TEPCO anything when you have pictures? We're everywhere. The wind condition is calm, and the directions of the wind above the station is the west or southwest, or east or northeast, or north-northeast, or south-southeast. Or residents living within the area of at least 20 kilometers from Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant are requested to shelter in buildings or houses. When they tell you to shelter in your building or your house, get a wet blanket and get a couple of wet blankets. Make it to your car and get in your car. Don't take that wet blanket off. Get a punch a couple of holes there for your eyes. And when you're about 10 miles away, throw that blanket away. And then take the other wet blanket out of a plastic garbage bag or something and put that over your head and keep going. Don't look back. Under no circumstances should you shelter in place after a nuclear accident. Get out of Dodge. The wind condition is calm, so get out of Dodge. The wind conditions are calm. Why would you want to stay in your houses and buildings, right? Case for Futaba. Residents evacuated by buses. About 100 persons in this particular peekaboo. Measured results for 9 persons out of 100 persons. The number of counts, the number of persons. So one person had 18,000 counts per minute. Now they're only looking at gamma. Not looking for alphas or neutrons or betas or x-rays or anything. 30,000 or 36,000 was one person. 40,000 counts per minute for another person. And a little less than 40,000 counts per minute. When your Geiger counter says 18,000 counts per minute, it's no longer functional, by the way. You broke it when you hit that number, for sure. This result was measured without shoes, though the first measurement exceeded 100,000 counts per minute. So they would have breathed in a couple of 100,000 counts, a couple of 100,000 atoms. Like to have a pulse, you need an atom. So 100,000 atoms. Monday, March the 14th. It says right there, top page, don't give to Dana Durnford in writing up. Do you see that? Unit 1, similar design to Dresden with ISO condensers. Core damage is likely. Core coverage is uncertain. Injecting borated water to the core. How are you going to do that in a pressurized reactor at 1,000 pounds per square inch? Like you're trying to pour water into your tire when you're letting air out of it. It's just doesn't work that way. But I've now lost that capability. Hydrogen explosions, nuclear meltdowns, have lost the secondary containment, but believe primary containment is intact. Inventing fission product daughters. Why would they call them daughters? That's so disgusting, yeah? I bet you're going to get censored heavy on this show. Unit 3, similar design to Quad City. Dwayne Arnold. It's similar design to 70 reactors in the United States. 70 reactors in the United States are identical. The exact schematics. Exact same colors, everything. Boiling in the spent fuel pool, feeding as able with seawater. How are you going to feed? There's nothing in the fuel pool. There is no fuel pool in reactor 3, for instance. And certainly neither one in reactor 1. This is on the 14th, right? Let me double check that. The smoking reactor building doesn't look too good. Let me see now. No, that doesn't look good at all. At all. George, it doesn't look good. Alrighty. Oh, well. Let me erase everything I got done up to here because I'll never find my way back here tomorrow. Smoking reactor. We'll pick up there tomorrow. I kind of like that. It's got a certain flavor to it, the smoking reactor. We don't care, we're French. Smoking reactor. You're looking at, I'm a smoking reactor. Don't stare at me, I'm smoking. The smoking reactor building doesn't look too good. A little yellow around the gills, is he? I say he is, look at that. Well, I mean, the planet, not the gills. Hoop. La 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 da 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 da. I think I just blew it along there that time. Whoa! James got out a new song, man. Sweet! We're in business here tonight. That's good timing because I ran out of time. Where are we to here? Just got to get my throat to cool down for an extra minute. We're killing it here tonight. We got 16 people on the show. That's amazing. Where'd all those people come from? Somebody's out there paying people to come to my show, aren't you? Bless your hearts, whoever's doing it. We never get 16 people on our show. That's crazy. Like, I've only been doing it for a decade. I can't expect to get 15. And tonight I got 16. That's astounding. What did they ever do to deserve that many people, I wonder? Did Japan cover the entire planet in 25 days with over 10 million atoms? It's probably double or triple that, by the way, per cubic meter of air of cesium-137. Cesium-137 pulses energy 600 feet every second, each atom. So each cubic meter of air is pulsing 600 feet. Almost at the speed of light. 10 to 20 million pulses of energy in every direction for each of them. So get your thumbs up on that. We're going to go over to James's site. I got to check my music now. My audio might have got messed up that time because I had to restart. You know what? I can control the volume from inside my system. Because if I click it there, you're going to get a ding from Windows, right? Okay, so we're going to play a new song James just put out there. And he makes all the video and the music with AI. And I'm telling you right now, the first song we played tonight, all the music we're using is James's music now. Alrighty, here we go. We'll see everybody tomorrow night. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you make it this far. Have a great night. Hugs for you and your friends and your families and your loved ones. We'll see you on the next one.
Nuclear South Africa!
Lights out!
Nuclear South Africa!
System failed!
Nuclear South Africa!
Rates go up!
Nuclear South Africa!
Who gets paid?
Goldberg's dead, no backup plan. Grid runs weak, but the price still stands. Flick the switch, the current fades. Bill goes up, but the lights don't stay. Who got the power? Who owns the grid? Who signs the checks? Who pockets the bids? The coal keeps burning, the gas runs dry, but the price you pay keeps climbing high.
Loud out, tap out, who run the sound?
Switch up, flip up, let the grid shut down.
The meters spin, the ledger's fake.
Power drops, but the profits inflate.
Nuclear's how they go.
Deep debt!
Nuclear's how they go.
No lights!
Nuclear's how they go.
Rate rise!
Nuclear's how they go.
No fight!
Tenders roll in, the contracts stack, politicians laugh while the streets go black. Kuberg offline, the scam runs deep. They sell the power you'll never keep.
Loud out, tap out, who run the sound?
Switch up, flip up, let the grid shut down.
The meters spin, the ledger's fake.
Power drops, but the profits inflate.
Ugly power, ugly deals. They flip the switch, they close the steels. No coal left, no gas to burn, but the money flows, so they don't learn.
Klaus Schwab was heavily involved in South Africa nuclear.
Streetlights dim, but the markets rise. Profits up, but they sell you lies. Kuberg dead, but the fees don't fall. Who keeps winning? Who pays it all?
Blackout, tap out, who runs the sound?
Switch up, flip up, let the grid shut down.
The meters spin, the ledger's fake.
Power drops, but the profits inflate.
No power, no future. Too bright, can't see. Cape Town flickers, it's all a dream. Just another blackout scheme.
No power! No future! Too bright, can't see! Cape Town flickers, it's all a dream! Just another blackout scheme!
Yeah, Klaus Schwab was heavily involved in getting nuclear into Africa. So can you imagine how evil that actually is?
Nuclear South Africa!
I gotta just put that in my favorites here before I forget about it. Give it a thumbs up. Make sure you run over there and give him a thumbs up. He's heavily censored too, right? Alrighty. Let's close down the poll. 28 votes. Thank you, everybody. Good night, everybody. We'll see everybody on the next show. Hopefully tomorrow night, everything goes even sensible. We'll be back. Take care, folks.